I do like your headset. It looks like you're flying a helicopter looking for Charlie out in Vietnam.
The Charlies are coming.
Hello, my friends.
Thank you for joining us for the PEBCAK Podcast, a weekly information security show featuring some all-around good people. It is week 28 of 2024. I'm Chris Louie, and happy to still have all 10 fingers after last week's 4th of July holiday. With me, I have my co-host, Uncle Barbecue. I hope you had some great food over the 4th of July.
I would say it was probably, I didn't even eat it. I went to cook some ribeyes and the grill literally caught on fire. I was up in Flagstaff. It was bad. And as soon as I put the steaks down, I saw the flare up. I was like, oh, okay. And then I looked over again and the smoke went from gray to just black. And I think the steaks were on the grill for maybe 3 minutes total. And I lifted up the lid and it singed all the hair off my arm. And so then I flipped it real quick and I let it cook on the other side for 10 seconds. And then I brought it in and it's I don't think we should eat this. Just because the black smoke alone kind of freaked me out. Yeah, no, it wasn't. It was whatever had been cooked in there for the previous 7 years. Just maybe yeah, it was rough. It got so hot in there that the grill, the grates, it actually blew apart after I pulled the steaks off. Yeah, it broke. Anyways, everyone said it was great steak. I didn't eat it. I was like, I don't know. I'm sure there's some sort of hepatitis in there or something.
That's the secret ingredient, Brian.
How do you get hepatitis from fire that's 1,000 degrees?
Glenn, I'm not a doctor. I don't know if you know this. You're handsome white Jesus.
You gotta burp the grill. You gotta do that. Let the air go in slowly, because if you get a rush of oxygen, then of course it's gonna flare up.
Oh, it was already flaring up from every aspect of that. Even though the lid was closed, when I grabbed the handle that's always nice and cool, that thing was liquid hot. Yeah, I was I lifted up. I was like, ah! You have to edit that out because that doesn't sound very manly. But it was hot as hell. But everyone liked it. They're like, man, it's got such a great sear. I'm like, I totally planned that.
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah, we're gonna NFT that little yell-in that you did.
We'll say it was you.
And we have Glenn Medina, or should we call him Air Conditioner Glenn, or ACG. Has it been hot enough for you up there, or do you not even notice because you're hanging out in your pool?
It's hot. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's 109. I think the other day was 113, even though it said that it wasn't. I still don't understand how we're just as hot as Uncle Barbecue over here in Phoenix. But yeah, it was hot. I do have a story for you. So I had a similar situation, Brian, where I was barbecuing some tri-tips and some chicken, and things were going fine. The next thing I knew, I go inside. I go do some dishes real quick that I brought in from the outside, and I turn around and my daughter says, "Hey, the barbecue's smoking." And I'm like, "Holy crap!" So I run outside, and you know that temperature that's on the cover?
Yeah.
It went from 400 to 1,000, real quick. And I'm like, uh-oh, this is not good. So I open it up, and I yell inside, and the fire goes.
So you didn't burp it either.
Yeah. So anyways, I went to go close it again, and it was still raging. Now the needle was going from 1,000 to 1,400. It was off the scale, right? And I'm like, holy crap.
Melt the steel there at that temperature.
Whatever was on my barbecue pit, was turning gray. The whole thing was turning brown. Whatever was on there. Anyways.
You created a new element. Good job.
I did.
Burnt chicken.
And so my daughter comes out with a tray. I take all the food off because I was at that point pretty much done. And this thing was just raging underneath my neighbor's redwood tree, right? And I'm like, hey, go get the fire extinguisher. Go get the fire extinguisher. And so they come out with the fire extinguisher. By that time, the fire is starting to dissipate. I'm looking at the redwood tree, thinking this thing's going to catch on fire. And my wife comes out and she goes, "Where the hell's my next door neighbor, the fireman?" And I'm like, he's inside his house. He doesn't give a shit.
I should have made this topic 4 if we all had barbecue stories.
Oh, yeah. It was pretty bad. But anyways, welcome to the podcast. I see we have a guest now. I apologize for going off on a tangent here.
Oh, real quick. Mine was pretty similar. I have the egg. I left both vents open I lit it up, went inside to go do something, and when I came out, it was like 1,200 degrees. Same thing. I'm like, I wanted about 700 for the steaks, and I left it way too long. It was like at 1,200. Like, oops. But I didn't singe myself, and I burped it, and it was fine.
That's a new grill though, right?
Yeah.
So here's the difference. So that's amazing. Your grill got that hot. Mine, when I took it all apart and cleaned it, it had about 1.5 inches of just buildup of all the years of and that's what actually caught on fire. So right on. Well, I'm glad you're okay, Chris.
Which is funny because I cleaned out my oil like earlier in the season, like in March, and so I'm surprised that I had that much buildup in mine. But to be honest with you, when it hits 80, 90 degrees outside, I start to cook outside. I love cooking outside, and that's my favorite thing to do. So steaks, chickens, sausages, pork, it's on the grill every day.
80 to 90 degrees. I have to start cooking outside at like 50 to 60. I don't wait for that hot weather.
The grill keeps
Who's this
warm.
weird voice?
Our guest this week is Ryan Ulrich. Ryan is a principal sales engineer over here at Zscaler, and he hassled me at the bar for not having him on the podcast before we had Hajni on twice. Ryan, welcome to the show. Do you have anything you want to say?
You guys
to
were
our
at the
good
bar?
friend
Get out of
Hajni?
here.
Yeah, absolutely. Just Hajni knows he's my favorite principal sales guy we have at Zscaler. But thanks for having me on the show today. I'm excited. And yes,
right.
Brian,
You
Chris
guys
and
got
I
all
were at a
those
bar
weird
together.
titles over there.
It's been 100 episodes since my co-host coerced me into making an entire episode dedicated to a theme related to episode number 69. So hard to believe that was already 100 episodes ago.
Do you know why it's hard to believe? It's because that's completely fabricated and made up. You're the only one that gave a crap about episode 69. Me and Glenn were like, all right, we're not 12 years
Whatever.
old, Chris. Yeah, jeez, weirdo.
Yeah, that's 100% fake news. You two coerced
Don't
me
listen to
into
Chris. He's
switching the
adopted.
topics.
Is he gaslighting us?
Yeah,
I
he is
think you
totally
guys trying to
Totally.
gaslight me. Like I'll bring up the audio from episode 69 and then I'll vindicate myself. That's a good thing about being the editor of the show is I can do things like that.
It's AI. We already know this.
For those of you keeping track, this is episode 69 of the podcast, and my co-hosts were just so giddy in planning for what we should do on this milestone episode. I did my best to incorporate all of this week's stories into a theme that would satisfy my co-host's giddiness. This week, we're going to talk about free tickets to see Taylor Swift, ransomware killing people. For our third topic, even criminals have standards, and close with Olympics talk. For our first topic, threat actors who allegedly breached Ticketmaster through Snowflake have leaked 39,000 print-at-home tickets for concerts, including Taylor Swift, Aerosmith, and Neil Young. The threat actor is threatening to release even more tickets unless Ticketmaster pays a $2 million extortion fee. Ticketmaster claims that the barcodes are worthless because the concert tickets are generated on the spot with a time-based seed, but the threat actors fired back that only a small fraction of the stolen tickets are dynamically generated. So who wants to print some tickets and try to go see T-Swift?
Yeah,
You
so
actually go buy those tickets.
all I know is that if I had a time machine, I would go back to the late 90s and tell the teenage me to kind of lower my expectations on Ticketmaster because it's not going to get any better.
Yeah, especially after Live Nation bought them, it just got dramatically worse.
That's what you would tell yourself in the 90s? Not to go meet Taylor Swift early? I mean,
Or buy
I think-
Bitcoin.
No.
Yeah, not by Apple.
Nope,
or
nope,
Microsoft,
just that.
or,
Concerts are painful.
or Nvidia. So
No. Why would I try to set myself for success, right? The small wins in life. All I know is like, I was on there not too long ago trying to buy some tickets. It was like, Ticketmaster was like, hey, it's $65 a ticket. It's like, sweet, I'll take two. And then Ticketmaster comes back. Your total will be $400. I'm like, what the? I don't understand what has happened here. Why is it so expensive?
Oh, I
Every single
understand what
time.
happened here.
What happened?
It's all those fees that they add at the very
Oh,
end.
okay. I even thought
Yeah.
you say that like I got front row tickets or something. That was not it. It was just all the fees got me. That's for sure.
Yeah, it got so bad here in California. So California actually did something right for once, and I'll give them credit where credit's due. So starting July 1st here in California, companies are no longer allowed to hide fees until the very end. They have to be upfront and disclose that. So like hotel resort fees and Ticketmaster stupid fees. Even restaurants here, like San Francisco has this 5% health mandate. If they don't give health insurance to their employees, it's a 5% surcharge. Like they can't add that to the bill at the end now. They have to disclose all that up front.
So just like I'm dumb for going back in time to warn myself about Ticketmaster, you're equally as dumb for living in California because the fees are announced to you when you're buying something.
You can go back in time and been born in another state.
But then you would have met the love of your life and had 2 wonderful, loving children that you adore.
Exactly.
Oh God, you went there.
Hashtag Chris's wife.
I get the time-based barcodes that threat actor's talking about, but they still have the option to print the tickets, right? If you scroll all the way down to the bottom of your email, generally, you can still print a PDF copy. How does the hand scanner differentiate?
I don't think you could. That's a done thing. That you can't print tickets anymore. Period.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't use Ticketmaster all that much, unlike Brian. So,
yeah, because you could try to take a screenshot. They won't let you take a screenshot of the ticket as well. So I've been to a couple concerts this year, and that's a no-go.
Everything has to be on the phone.
There's no path. Yeah, everything has to be live on the phone. Like, you can have all 10, 20, 40 tickets on your phone, but you can't take a screenshot and send it to your kid, and go that way. Now you can share the ticket where they have to have the Ticketmaster app on their phone, and you can send it to them, and then they now have a live ticket, but the transfer has to take place within the Ticketmaster system.
If you really want to own Ticketmaster in every venue that's out there, just load up ransomware on all the hand scanners, right? They'd be then. Ain't nobody getting in.
Well, what I don't understand is and this is just me, maybe I'm just too much of a wuss to take that risk, is so they come out with this and they sell these tickets, let's say 10, 20, 30, 40, $50 a pop, right? And you go buy them, from this sketchy location or on Craigslist or whatever, and you go to the event and you show them your piece of paper, and they look at you like, "Hey, dummy, we don't take those tickets. You just got scammed out of $20, out of $50. I don't care how cheap they are or how expensive. It's that's a risk, right? And that's why I've never liked scalpers.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's ever done that, right? But I know plenty of people that'll buy scalp tickets.
Yeah, it could be. The risk that it's counterfeit is too high. The threat actors actually on this, it's something like the equivalent of breach form where they're releasing these tickets. There's actual step-by-step instructions on how to extract the PDF and extract the barcode and put it in this, and they give step-by-step instructions on how to change one of the dynamic barcodes into something printable. So maybe it works, maybe it doesn't, who knows. One of you guys can try and go see T-Swift and let me know if it worked.
I think I'd probably go see Neil Young before Taylor Swift, but I don't know. Here's what's really going to happen. They're just going to pay the $2 million in extortion fees, and then the next time you go to check out, if you look closely, there'll be an extortion fee service charge on there. They're going to pass it on to the consumer, baby.
But you're only going to see it in California. Otherwise, it's just going to be Ticketmaster fees.
Exactly. And people won't even bat an eye. They're like, oh, is this what we deal with?
Yeah. Just here in California, we have anytime you buy insurance, there's this automatic California fraud insurance recovery fee on top of that, just because there's just so much fraud out there. It's well, why crack down on fraud when you just charge everybody else to make up for it?
You remember that guy, the rich man north of Virginia? What was that guy's name?
Ollie something.
Oliver, yeah. Something, yeah. Here's my point. So number one, he threw a fit when he found out his tickets that he was selling for $20 were going for way more than that, and he was just online saying that they got to, don't even come to my concert. He's I'm not even going to show up. I'm not getting paid. Other people are getting paid.
Yeah.
So you take that into account that we can't even remember his name, and now we got the Hawk Tua girl that's more famous than him for way less, way less effort. It's insane.
I saw an article yesterday that she signed to do a documentary on her life. I don't know if it was a legit article or not, but
oh God,
that's funny.
This is the world that we live in today.
Yeah.
So,
famous for being famous.
Memes.
Just got to get that.
You got to find the right.
Yeah,
meme.
the clip was less than 30 seconds, right? It's just
Right, like
30
here's
second
10
video.
episodes of someone's documentary of living just a normal everyday life, and then the last episode they say something stupid for 30 seconds, and then there's a documentary.
Yeah, exactly. That's
If I were her dad, I would not want to be in the documentary. Like, nope, I abandoned her years ago. Doesn't exist.
She's been hooked to him since she's been 5.
Hey now.
Yeah.
yeah. Well, one of the unfortunate side effects of the data breach, and it's if it's true that Ticketmaster has to reissue all these tickets, it might just be a calculation on there, and just very similar to what MGM versus Caesar. Caesar says it's going to cost a ton of money. We're just going to pay them off. MGM says we'll stand on our principles. We'll fight it, and they spend $100 million fixing the problem. Like, I don't think Ticketmaster will do the right thing. I think that it's going to be a calculation. What's the cost to reissue tickets versus what's the cost that they're asking, and they'll go with whatever's cheaper.
Yeah, agreed. They're literally just printing money, when you think about it.
But you can't print.
No, Ticketmaster's printing money. Yeah.
I was going to say they're creating
printing money. They're
magic
they're mining money. They're Bitcoining money.
They're minting money, right? I guess that would
minting
probably be the
tickets.
way. Yeah. Also, for all the people that complain about my stupid microphone, kiss my butt. I'm using the professional one today, so now I hope you're happy. Back in my office.
It's about damn time. You've been gone like 5 weeks, right?
Yeah.
So.
Been gone for a while, yeah. It was funny. I was with a customer yesterday, and I was like, "Oh yeah, by the way, wanted me to bring up we do a podcast." I was like, "If anyone wants to join, blah blah blah." And the guy's like, "He's like, well, I'll join if you give me X, Y, and Z Zscaler stuff for free." I was like, "I don't think you understand how badly I don't care if you join the podcast as a guest here. It ain't gonna happen."
That's true. 169 episodes. We've never had to pay a guest. This is 100% voluntary.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait, I'm
Ryan's
not getting paid for this?
Ryan, you're not getting a shirt, Ryan.
All right, Ryan just dropped off the call.
He's flatlined. My bad.
For our second topic, this will be our ransomware story of the week. For the first time, we actually have quantifiable numbers for the impact of ransomware and how it affects how healthcare is delivered. Academics from the University of Minnesota's medical school looked at the aftermath of ransomware attacks on U.S. hospitals and found evidence to suggest that mortality rates typically increase by around 20% and up to 50% in mortality rates during an active ransomware attack. This is due to the delay in care, delay in lab results, paper and pencil records, and just the general elevated stress of operating in an environment where everything electronic is down. I can't say I'm surprised by it, but it's good to see a study and the hard numbers of what actually happens. Note that the study was not peer-reviewed, but it's obvious that a hospital under active ransomware attack will not work as efficiently as one that is not. Researchers said the most affected category were patients who were already hospitalized at the time of the ransomware attack compared to patients who were admitted after, where the hospital staff could adjust the procedures to take into account for the unavailable IT systems.
So this, I think this is what Big Medical wants you to believe, and I'm sure Big Free Medical in Canada was very happy that they didn't audit over there because they would have figured out that people were just dropping dead in emergency rooms of
Even
completely
without
avoidable
attacks.
Yeah, without the ransomware, just completely avoidable things like infections or respiratory distress. But
Broken toe.
probably not a broken toe, Chris. At least not according to my research. But if we learn anything here, and I think if the hospitals are starting to learn, is that no one is exempt from the wrath of ransomware people. There is no strategy in which they don't care about keeping people alive. So my advice is solid and simple. Spend the money now before it happens. You'll sleep a lot better knowing that you maybe overspent on IT for doing EDR and sandboxing and all this other stuff and record the future and Lord knows what else is out there.
Zero trust.
As
for
opposed
healthcare.
to exactly some zero trust for healthcare, maybe even a secure browser that's out there, at least one that actually works at Island, not unlike his competition. But the seriousness though, like if you do the right thing now, like you're not going to regret. There'll be no blood on your hands, right? Like if you do it after the fact, like too little too late, you should not be working, in my opinion.
I think people generally agree with that statement. The problem is budget. Like, how do hospitals, I think the decision comes outside of that CISO or that CIO's hands, where they have to sit there and justify it to the board to spend that much money. And then the board does the magic calculation of, is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Right. I think everyone agrees that, better security is a good thing. The problem is, how do you define how much should they spend? Because it could just be a number that just keeps going on and on and on, knowing that they got so much tech debt, right? And they've got to live through it.
It is so easy to justify that at healthcare, right? If we don't do the right thing, people die. And if you're working at, I don't know, the post office, right? Like, people don't get their mail. I can understand the risk versus reward type of thing, but when it comes to people's lives, I think you got to do the right thing. In fact, I actually was talking with a CISO in Miami. He was former medical CISO, and I asked him, like, on his career, and he's telling me, and it came down to that. He's like, my virtues in life didn't align with what the board wanted. There was an assumable amount of risk that they're willing to tolerate, and he goes, it just wasn't good for me. Whether it was either losing lives, losing my own job, or losing people that I'm working with because they get promoted to patient. He's like, I'd rather quit now and go find a job somewhere else. And he went over here to other organization, completely out of the norm, but very interesting.
Yeah, and you see that in so many places, and it's just amazing to me that in this day and age, a hospital board can still take that risk tolerance level and say, we're just not willing to do that. Like, at what point do you balance? Exactly. At what points do you balance life and value? And, where are we too commercialized, where we're taking that and actually considering that question seriously and not just saying life is the valuable part?
So you're saying take the Canadian stance.
Let him die in the ER.
Let him die in the ER.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I was about to say,
free medical for everybody. It's just you got to get in the door first. So.
This is the same conversation that happened in the Boeing boardroom. Do we value profits, or do we value not having doors blow off or planes crash? And, they pled guilty just very recently, so they admitted that they prioritized profits over safety.
A couple weeks ago, I was in a window seat.
Does that though, right?
Window seat exit row of 737 MAX 8. I was sweating a little bit. Let me tell you, I could not wait to get off that plane.
Tighten your seatbelt.
Wear that seatbelt, buddy. Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie to you. When that whole thing happened, I stopped flying for a while. I was like, I'm not gonna fly for a bit until this thing clears up. But I gotta say, Southwest, darn you guys brought back some of those old planes to replace those Maxes. Yeah.
I love Southwest, but I have some beef with them because I think they're like the only. We have to definitely fact check me on this, but I believe that they're the only airline that won't actually let you bring a parachute on board, or at least wear it. So I would if you're gonna go out with an exclamation mark. Like, have some fun. Don't even wear your seatbelt. But I'm with you. I didn't stop flying, but I did. Anytime I would sit down, like if I get up, take a or something, no seatbelt until they tell me to. Now it's always locked in all the time.
Because you'll be
locked and loaded.
Hold on, I want to go back to this parachute thing. Do you just have a parachute sitting around that you would regularly take in your carry-on with you? Like, don't mind me, but I have this, industrial level backpack with all these carabiners and pull straps. What does that look like?
I mean, there was a meme out there that it was legal at some point in time to bring your own parachute, and so now with doors blowing off, like, why not, right?
Yeah, come full circle.
I think you guys forgot the laws of physics. At like 30,000 feet, you wouldn't survive anyway with an ordinary parachute. Yeah, you'd have to have something, and not only that, there's no oxygen for you.
Yeah, you're going
the
too
airspeed.
I
You're
can
dead
hold my
anyway.
breath.
Yeah.
That reminds me, those you remember those like carpetbaggers right after the Civil War trying to profit off the war?
Carpet munchers?
Carpetbaggers. I think they're called robber barons, carpetbagger. Anyways, like right after 9/11, I remember there was these like office safety people that were going around like selling parachutes to people that work in office buildings on very high floors, and they're like, well, for this price, it'll get you safely out of the building if you jump out, but you might break your legs. But for this upgraded version, you'll actually be able to land safely. And you stand there and think, it's like, what are the odds that I'm ever going to have to jump out? Sure, it happened. It's a non-zero chance of it happening. But I'm more concerned about dying in a car crash on my way to work than a plane flying into my building.
Not a lot of planes hitting buildings lately, thank God.
Thankfully. All right. Well, that comment seemed to bring the podcast to a screeching halt. So I'm going to
Good job.
move on to our third topic here. For our third topic, I'm going to open with a story. It's going to be unrelated to cybersecurity, but related to the story we're about to talk about. A burglar in Spain broke into a soccer coach's house and stole a bunch of items, typical burglars being burgling. Among them were videotapes, and after watching what was on the tapes, the thief discovered that the person he robbed was sexually abusing children. The guy's a criminal, but even he has standards. He turned the tapes over to the police, and with the man's address, and the soccer coach was immediately arrested. So good job, Mr. Burglar there. Now on to the cybersecurity part of the story. Researchers from Recorded Future. This is actually the first time I think we've ever talked about Recorded Future 2 times on the podcast. But they noticed something interesting about data dumps from information stealer campaigns. Typical info stealers dump the usernames and passwords from the browser to steal login information and take over accounts. Recorded Future regularly buys these data dumps from the dark web so they can alert their customers so if they have compromised credentials out there. That's just one of the services they offer. In looking through the data dumps, researchers noticed that some of these data dumps had passwords saved for .onion websites on the dark web that are known to traffic in child sex abuse material or CSAM material. .onion websites use the Tor anonymizing service to hide their identities. However, the data dumps also include login information that tie that user to real-life information like their Facebook profile. Armed with this information, Recorded Future was able to unmask these CSAM website users and hand that information over to the authorities. Now, I can overlook these more minor crimes to put away these abusers out there.
Sounds like a great idea. I'm going to go to some terrible, terrible website and click the login with Facebook button. What could go wrong?
God.
So
Everything. Especially with an unsecure browser. That's awesome.
Yeah,
understand? Go ahead, Chris.
I actually put a note in here to make sure to ask you, Glenn. So Glenn, the Island browser does not allow you to store your password to CSAM websites in the browser, right?
Yes. Only CSAM.
Yeah.
It's a feature, not a bug. So I have a really dumb question for you. If I'm looking at these dumps, does that mean like a Tor browser can be used for browsing non-Tor websites?
Yeah. I mean, the Tor browser is built for anonymity. So it's all websites can be accessed through Tor. Well, I would say nearly all websites, but only .onion websites can be accessed through Tor.
Okay. This makes a lot more sense, understanding that now. What I think Recorded Future should do first before turning it over to the authorities is maybe stand up some sort of onion site that, unassuming good citizens can go onto daily and then be like, oh, look, this person down the street from me is like a CSAM dude. And if the authorities go after him, he's going to get a slap on the wrist, or I can just go bury him myself.
Some good old street justice.
Some street justice, baby. You guys remember that one dude? He was in prison and he was really nonchalant. He said, "Hey, I was like, got a new bunkmate. Guy was telling me that he was basically in there because he was a child abuser." And I was like, "Hey, dude, no more. Don't want to hear it. Tomorrow, you just get a new cellie, or at least asked to be switched out." And then the guy kept trying to justify it, so he ended up killing him. He wasn't really remorseful. And so years later, he came back, and I think maybe it had been a parole hearing. He's like, I still have no remorse. He's like, I feel bad maybe for the families. He's like, but I'm not one to judge, but God is the only one who's ever going to judge him. I just made the appointment sooner. I was like, dude, all right, you're more of a poet than a murderer. My God.
That guy, instant parole.
Yeah.
Pretty sure there's a Toby Keith song out there that has this lesson built into it. Isn't that
Which Toby Keith
Beer
song?
for My Horses?
I'm going to look that up.
Yeah, no, it's good.
What's
it's pretty much
what's
that
the
whole
premise
lesson.
of the song?
Just
You can commit a
old
lesser
street
crime to
justice.
stop it. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Rest in
What is
peace.
it called?
Try
What's
that.
the song called
Is
again?
it like Try That in a Small Town?
Beer for My Horses.
Yeah, that's the one thing that I would think you would not want to advertise in prison. Like, I listen to some of these prison podcasters, and people or videos that people have either been to prison or have intimate knowledge of how things work, and they say,
"What are you listening to, Chris? Oh my god!"
I can't remember the guy's name. One of our listeners will tell me he's like really big, really jacked. He loves to yell. Like he acts like he's always on something. I can't remember his name, but he's a pretty famous YouTuber.
He's the guy that looks like Brian too, right?
Yeah,
famous YouTuber that looks like Brian,
but
he
just yells a lot more than Brian does.
Billy Mays?
Yeah.
Willie Mays. Willie Mays, the guy that stops the leaks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Anyways, they say like the first thing that the fresh fish come in, the new inmates, and then they say the first thing you do is a charge check. You say, what are you in for? And then it's like, oh, kidnapping, murder, robbery, or something. And then they try to make sure that your story is legit. And if it's not legit, and they brand you as a chomo, a child molester, they usually have a smash on site or a kill on site for those types of people. Like there's standards even within the prison system that the chomos are at the very bottom, and they don't last long, and it's not pleasant for them. So I don't know why this guy would be like bragging about that and trying to justify it.
Yeah, it doesn't add up at all. Like you probably want to keep that to yourself. It would be funny though. It's like, what if you went in there? Actually, I think it was a movie I just saw, and like the lawyer for the defendant, he got held in contempt of court. Can you imagine, like, you go in there, like, what are you in here for, boy? Contempt of court. Like, out of all the terrible DWIs and selling drugs and beating people and killing. Yeah, I was mean to the judge. Oh my gosh. Put your tail between your legs.
They don't take you to the penitentiary for contempt. It's like local county jail, right? So
I would hope so, right?
Yeah. Hopefully that's like club.
Well, no, actually,
that's not max security.
You could go to prison for contempt of court. Unless ChatGPT's lying to me.
Yeah, but that prison would still be
you can go to prison,
right? It wouldn't be.
It'd still be the county prison.
Like
yeah,
a federal
exactly.
pen or something.
You're not going to a federal penitentiary.
Oh,
No, you're not going to
jail.
Supermax.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to
It's not
Supermax.
San Quentin. This is like the jail down the road until you apologize to the judge.
Yeah.
Well, I think Recorded Future is doing a good thing here, and it's interesting with all the tools that you have now to help correlate this data to that. Here's a password dump. Here's a password to a CSAM website. Here's a password to the user's Facebook page, and then you can now start connecting all these dots together and getting these scumbags off the street. And everybody deserves their day in court. Maybe there's a legitimate reason for it, maybe not, but at least
There's not.
at least you'll get these people off the street.
It's funny that Recorded Futures in the show notes today, because I looked at them maybe like 4 years ago, just walking by. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. All right. Like out of like an RSA or Black Hat. And then this week I was talking with a customer about, threat hunting and stuff. They're like, oh yeah, we use Recorded Future for that. And I was like, oh, and then this story comes up. I'm like, okay, I probably should give them another look again to see if they're doing some other cool things out there.
Hit up our buddy Al. He's over there, I guess, balancing it out. So when I mentioned that everybody deserves their day in court and everybody should be presumed innocent, well, first of all, that's how our justice system works. The other side of that is during the crypto investigations, that book I recommended many episodes ago, Traces in the Dark. They traced these blockchain transactions to a CSAM website, like some guy paid for services for a CSAM website. And then when they followed the blockchain, they trace it back to this like high school principal. So it's like this high school principal has access to minors, obviously for that. And the investigators really had a moral dilemma, because they said we're fairly certain, we're not 100%, not beyond a reasonable doubt, but we're fairly certain this guy is guilty. And they said, but if we arrest him and we charge him, like, his career's over. Even if he's innocent, someone being arrested, even wrongfully, for potential child sex abuse material violations, that's a career ender for high school principals. So you have to balance that out, that unless there's additional corroborating evidence, you're really taking a risk of ruining someone's life, even if they're potentially innocent.
So I don't feel like that happens enough, to be honest with you.
What? The innocent until proven guilty thing?
No, just like really doing your due diligence before going after people. Like, I forget the name of the a lawyer that
Trump?
goes out there and gets people out of jail after they've been locked up for 10 years.
Oh, like the Innocence Project?
Yeah, yeah, I think it's the Innocence Project. Like you hear that stuff, and it's like it's kind of heartbreaking. And then these guys have been, in the prison for so long. It's like, how do you even come out of that? It's great that you're free now, but how do you even get compensated? Like, how do you even measure the compensation on that? Like it's like it's got to be a complete mind f.
There's laws in each state on how that is, and usually it's like not enough for losing that many years of your life, but it's at least something. And
according to our calculations, you have an 8th grade education, so you probably would have gotten paid McDonald's wages for the last 26 years. I'm like, oh my God, shut up.
Yeah, that with the like new DNA evidence and just witnesses coming forward and saying, "Yep, I lied. That I put an innocent person in jail." Like it's good that there's still people around to at least try to right some wrongs.
Do those people that admit to lying when they commit perjury like that, they should be turned around on them and they should go to jail and spend that much time in jail?
Yeah, however much time that person they put away, like it should be on them.
Mm-hmm.
That would disincentivize people from committing perjury, I guess. Hopefully.
Perjury does carry a pretty heavy sentence, though, doesn't it? I mean, overall, like it may not be equivalent to, whatever that was served by the person that got put in originally, but it's not a light sentence
you're
for
like
perjury.
Part of the U.S. Senate and you're lying. But never mind. Moving on.
Brian had to take it there.
Well, I guess apparently there it's not the courtroom, so it's different. But they did perjure themselves.
Yeah, perjury doesn't count in government buildings.
Apparently not. If you're on, depends on which side you're on. But yeah. For our last topic, and it'll be a rotating topic every week. This week, we're going to talk about the upcoming Olympic Games in Paris. I believe as of the time of this recording, we're about 2 weeks out of the Paris Games. So I have 2 questions for the group. Number 1, what sport are you looking forward to the most? And number 2, since we are a cybersecurity podcast, do you think a major cyber incident will happen during the Paris Olympic Games?
I'll let you guys go because I have a lot to say about this.
Didn't we talk about this already?
We did not
talk about
Olympics.
this. No? DJOW.
Well, I mean, I think there might have been I remember seeing an article that said these are the most secure Paris Olympic, or this is the most secure Olympic Games ever. Maybe that was a story we talked about. I'll have to go back and check.
Control F. All right, so since no one's ready to talk about this, I guess I'll just go right into it. I refuse to actually watch the Olympics until they make the best competition in the world an actual event. And no, I know what you guys are thinking. It's not football, American football. I got 2 words for you, baby. Joey Chestnut.
Joey Chestnut lives not like 5 miles from me.
See? That should be a contest right there. And I've traveled the world enough to know that people eat way too much, not just in America. So I think that hot dog, glizzy guzzling should be a thing. And I'm just kidding. But the one thing that I am wanting to see more than others is the USA men's basketball team. I can't wait to watch them lose. I'm very excited for that. And all seriousness aside, I'm a huge fan of all, track and field type of events, especially the sprints. I think are cool. Men or women, I think they're amazing athletes, and I think it's pretty fun. And yes, somebody's gonna get hacked there to put the icing on the cake.
We need another Bruce Jenner. That's what we need.
Have you guys heard the Eminem album that he just dropped?
I have not.
About Bruce Jenner?
Yeah, he went after him like 8 times in the entire album.
Well, I guess it's her. Caitlyn Jenner.
Or her, technically. But if you're Eminem, it's definitely a dude. So I'll leave it at that. Yeah. I think the premise of the album is he's trying to cancel himself. So I think he did a great job. I think there would be a lot of people upset.
Think of all the events. I'm probably looking forward to men's golf, because I've never been a big sports guy, but I can hold my own failing at playing golf, so at least I'll understand, when they whiff a shot.
Did that make it into the Olympics?
Apparently, yeah.
Golf is an Olympic sport, yeah.
Men's golf, August 1 through 4th. Women's 7th through 10th.
Holy cow.
And guess what course they're at?
Like, what have we turned into?
Les
I
Golf.
don't know.
Les Golf.
Les Golf.
Makes sense. It is in Paris.
But I agree with Brian, absolutely. Someone's going to get hacked during the Olympics. Probably, you know, the ticket hand scanners now that we breached that, but we'll see.
Yeah, I was gonna say for Brian, like you don't even need to own every single hand scanner. You just need to own the back end system they all connect to. Go to the single point of failure.
Well, heaven
True.
forbid. I'm hoping that it is a safe event, knowing that all the world stage is going to be over there, right? And nothing bad happens where you get some type of terrorism. So I'm sure that's top on their list as well. So
Yeah, all the heads of state will be there, or a lot of them will be there.
yeah, exactly. So I like the Olympics. I like some of the commercials that actually come out of there are really good, but I haven't seen any that are like, wow, that's really awesome. So none of that Pride America stuff anymore. Have you guys seen any of that stuff? Like, hey, these people are representing the U.S. Go, and it seems more individualistic now than a whole nation type cheering.
And like national pride.
Yeah, I don't think we have that anymore. We have that zeal.
I mean, look at the last couple decades.
Well,
I think patriotism in general has taken a steep decline in most areas, especially in something like the Olympics with the national pride.
Well, I guess my hatred towards the men's USA basketball team is like half the team's not even from the U.S. So like at least the dude that plays for the Bucks, Giannis.
Well, he's going to go play for Greece, right?
He went to
Greece.
go play for Greece. So I'm friggin' team Greece all the way, man. I can get behind those values in a heartbeat.
Yao Ming.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I think the level of play for basketball overall globally has surpassed what the U.S. has been able to dominate for the last 50 years, right? If you look at it from that standpoint. And that's why when you have international players from Europe, Spain, Brazil, their level of basketball play has increased and caught up for that matter, because they have stars now in the U.S. So
I'm sure if you took
it's
no longer
kudos
if
to them.
everyone went and played,
Yeah.
yeah, if everyone played for their home country, Team USA would probably get their cheeks clapped in a heartbeat.
Yeah.
Yes,
I got LeBron on there.
I'm pretty sure the folks that are playing on the U.S. team are only U.S. citizens, not
dual.
You don't have any. Yeah, you don't have some of the people from other countries playing for
Djokovic and
there.
those
That may be
guys.
the case for like women's basketball, but definitely for men's, it's pretty much U.S. born kids that are playing on there.
Nope, half
That
the
are
team
supposed
is
to be
not
superstar.
No, they're
Really?
citizens. They are citizens, U.S. citizens because they play for the NBA. But like Giannis, who is technically a U.S. citizen, is playing for Greece because he's got some value.
Right. But I don't think you see like a Luka Doncic who's from Europe. He's not playing for the U.S. He's playing for whatever country he's from, right? So
Probably. I'll
that's
have
all I'm
to
trying
look
to
at the
say,
roster again. But I guarantee you
Yeah.
half the team is not even from the U.S.
yeah.
It's just like
What's amazing to me is that baseball is no longer a thing in the U.S. Like it's taken over by
is Japan.
Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
Japan,
Central America.
Korea.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because I remember like the '90s Dream Team, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, like those were they were called the Dream Team for a reason. Like they just could not lose. All right, so I'll go last. So first of all, I'm surprised nobody said women's volleyball. Just putting that out there. The
Perv.
it's
I
good.
know, what's going
It's a
on?
good competitive sport. That's what I'm trying to say. The other thing is, this is the first year. I'm actually pretty excited for this. The first year they're allowing breakdancing as an Olympic sport, so I'm going to be tuning in for that one for sure. There's going to be a women's team. There's going to be a men's team. First time ever breakdancing. Check it out. Probably won't be disappointed. And then whether or not they'll get hacked, I think if they get hacked, it'll be subtle things on the back end. It won't be anything huge that would bring anything significant down. They're not going to hack the opening ceremony. They're not going to have door gates not open like they did in Pyeongchang, a couple years ago. I think now that cyber is on the forefront of everyone's mind, they planned it years in advance, and that's why they said for even the domains related to the Paris Olympic Games, like they protected them. They have them fully patched. They're watching out for typo squatting now. Like these are things that did not happen for 16 years ago or 2 years ago for the Winter Olympics. So I think they'll be better prepared this time. It'll take a lot more sophisticated threat actor to actually knock them offline in any meaningful way.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing they probably have to worry about is like, venereal disease transmission.
Well, but that's every Olympic Games for the last 100 years.
Yeah.
I think one of the Olympics they said they passed out more condoms and things.
They said they ran out. They said
than any other. Yeah.
They had they stocked up so much they ran out even before they thought they would. Yeah. It's interesting side conversation, but yeah.
Wow. Didn't know that Olympics had that effect on people.
Well, you think of it.
Those are just the players, Brian.
Peak
the athletes
performance.
Themselves.
Think of the average age of these Olympians all living together. Like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that's a formula for running out of birth control.
True.
Except for girls' gymnastics. Those are really young kids.
Yeah.
God, I hope not.
Did you guys know that so I went to the place where, like, on my little world tour where they had the first Olympics, and they were telling us, like, in Greece, and they were basically saying, like, back in the day, it was only dudes, and it was only dudes that were there. And on top of that, they would actually compete naked, and they would actually, for sunblock, they made it out of olive oil and dust. So they would just cover their body and do that. And women weren't allowed. And I can see why. Probably pretty incredible to watch, but...
And there's
different times,
one of that
right?
Spartan stuff, right? Where the gladiator stuff, it wasn't any of that stuff. It was actual Olympics.
Yeah, it was the actual Olympics.
It wasn't to the death of anything, right? Back then.
No. Well, at least not that
It's like,
stuff.
raw.
Olive
The
oil and
Spartans were
dust.
some messed up dudes, I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
Well,
Everyone's had to Google that. Why I believe that. I'm not going to say why.
And I'm not linking through to that in the show notes, so do your own research. Well, you continue to get great comments about our Dad Joke of the Week.
Dad Joke of the Week.
This week, our guest, Ryan, is up.
Don't mess it up, Ryan.
Oh, I won't. Don't worry.
Ryan.
Where did the attacker go after breaching the network?
Where?
Oh.
Uh-oh.
He ran somewhere.
Zinger. That's better than anything Chris has ever said.
Cybersecurity related dad joke at that.
Good job, man.
Thanks. I'll take it. I had plenty of backups written down too, but that one seems to have done the job.
That one landed for sure.
Go on a high note.
All right, to wrap things up, get your free Taylor Swift tickets while they last. We need to hack back these ransomware crews. Overlook smaller crimes to get the real scumbags off the streets. And breakdancing is now in the Olympic Games. That's all I have for this week. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode. Find us all on LinkedIn. Links will be in the description. Follow us on Instagram at PEBCAK Podcast. Thank you to all our listeners and subscribers. Rate us 5 stars in the iTunes Store on Spotify and left us a review. We appreciate you all spreading the word to help grow the show. The best way to find us is search for the PEBCAK Podcast in your favorite podcast listening app. My co-host Brian Deitch and Glenn Medina, and our guest Ryan Ulrich. I'm Chris Louie. Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next weekend. As always, have a nice day.
Bye, Stigmata.
Bye, Felicia.
Have a nice day.